It's the 60th anniversary of Doctor Who's first broadcast. Well, it was yesterday. We've had a few special treats already. Tales from the TARDIS brought back a load of old Doctors and Companions, which was a wonderful nostalgic trip down memory lane, even though it almost certainly means that none of them will be returning to the actual show anytime soon. And now we get to see the very first Dalek story in colour, taking us right back to 1965, when the Peter Cushing movie came out. Yes, it's a strange choice to do a colour remake of a story that's already been remade in colour. But I guess it makes sense, as it's the earliest Doctor Who story that they still have the rights to. But it would have worked much better if they could have edited the first episode of The Unearthly Child in at the start. I'm sure they would have, had they been allowed. I wasn't expecting much from the colorisation. You do see brief clips every now and then on Twitter, but they're usually only a few seconds long, and I would have expected full-length versions to be prohibitively expensive. But it all looks very impressive. They've clearly gone through every single frame and made the colours pop out, from Barbara's pink shirt to the Thal's blue outfits. The backgrounds have also been enhanced, with bright colourful walls all over the Dalek city, and a jungle full of pink plants. I don't know if this is how they filmed it originally, but it does give it a very 60s feel, kind of similar colour palette to the original Star Trek. Skin tones are also very convincing. They never seemed to look right in previous attempts at colorisation, but now it seems the technology has caught up. Although it's obviously not in HD, it still looks as good as it possibly can, for something filmed in 1963 using a 16mm camera. Slightly more controversially, the story has been cut down from 175 minutes to 75 minutes. In theory, this is not a bad idea, as a lot of old Doctor Who stories have a lot of padding, and anything over 4 episodes can be a bit of a chore to sit through. And for the most part, the cuts work well. The first half of the story goes by really smoothly, and all the major plot points seem to be intact. The second half is where it starts to feel a bit rushed. Once the Thal's into the story, the cross-cutting between different storylines just start to feel a lot more obvious. And you can tell it's all moving at a much faster pace than it would have originally. Annoyingly, we also get flashbacks inserted into the middle of scenes to remind viewers of what they just saw 5 minutes earlier, which makes it feel a bit like Death in Paradise. There's also a few musical montages using specially composed music, which doesn't really fit with the original soundtrack, but is clearly meant to make it seem much more exciting. It feels jarringly wrong to me, but then I have seen the original a few times, so I may be biased. On the plus side, the scenes with the Daleks watching the Thals from their control room and commenting on everything that's happening in the jungle feels like they may have been newly added for this version as a sort of framing device, but they work well and they do help to move the story along. So it's not entirely successful, but overall it's an interesting experiment. Die-hard fans will always want to stick with the original, but for anyone yet to experience the 60s stories, this would be a good introduction. It lets people appreciate the acting and most of the story without having to suffer through the often gloomy original visuals. And if it can get more people watching the original series, then it will all have been worthwhile. Perhaps the most surprising part was at the end, where there was a whole montage of colourised clips from previously black and white episodes. Even though the clips were only a few seconds long, it was all very impressive. And it certainly gave the feeling of seeing something fresh and new for the first time. And it does seem that further colorisations are on the way. I guess they must be cheaper to produce than the animated reconstructions of missing episodes. I wonder what story will be next. The chase, the gunfighters, the dominators, who knows? But I will certainly be fascinated to see what they come up with next. Thanks for watching. I'll be back with my review of the Star Beast on Sunday or Monday, depending on how long it takes to edit. Please subscribe in the meantime. I'm very close to 100 subscribers. So if you could get me there, I'd be very grateful. Not in terms of money, but, you know. See you next time.